What is up, guys? Welcome to the ThinkComputers Weekly Tech Podcast. This is episode 208. And as always, our podcast is brought to you by Amazon. If you go to thinkcomputers.org/Amazon and happen to purchase something, of course, gives us a little kickback and keeps the podcast ongoing. With me is my co-host, Ryan. What's up, man?
Not much. Just ready for another weekly podcast.
Yeah, I think
it goes by so fast. Like a week. I'm like, I felt like I was just sitting here podcasting. It's crazy.
A week goes by so fast, and it's like, what did I even get done this week? I have a really funny story that I'll tell everybody when we get to our reviews about a certain product that have you ever had? Well, before we do that, let's I guess we can just jump into reviews. But have you ever had something tech related that literally made absolutely no sense? Like you had something break,
a problem, or okay, yeah.
If you had something break, and it eventually started working, but the reason it started working made no sense. Or have you ever had something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head here, but sure. I mean, I've been in IT for like 17 years. So yes.
Yeah. So this is going to bring us to our first review of the week. And before we get into that, you guys can follow along with us. We do have our show notes page that's in the description of this video for you guys to go ahead and check out. But everything is there that we're going to talk about this week. But that's going to bring us into our first review, which is of the InWin 309, which is an awesome case. I mean, just you can see the front panel, but I had a problem with this case. I had a problem with the front panel.
Yep, and I remember this.
Basically, the way the front panel works, as Kayla says, my old man is showing. The front panel works is that it connects to the computer via USB 2.0 header, much like any of these sort of like RGB things do.
Yeah,
and I plugged it in, and the software said not recognized. I disconnected it. It just didn't work. So I'm thinking it's the panel. Things like that happen. So InWin sent a second panel. Same problem.
I knew you were about to say that.
And I'm like, what the heck? Because again, we received this case a while ago before we left for CES. I was basically finished with this review minus the whole RGB front panel, which is like the centerpiece of this case. And obviously we can't write a review without talking about it. So they sent the second one. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I take the panel off the case. I connect it to a test bench that I have here, and it works. No problem.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, these headers there's something wrong with the headers on this motherboard, this brand new X570 motherboard. There's something wrong with the headers. So I'm like, okay. So I connect a Corsair AIO to it, detects it right away. No problem.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, the headers are fine. Let me just reset. Let me reset the BIOS. Let me do everything. Did all that. Connect it. Nothing. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, I'm literally writing an email to InWin and be like, I have no clue why this isn't working. Like, do you have any, is there some type of conflict you might have with ASUS, with Aura Sync or something, because sometimes you have conflicts. I completely disabled Aura Sync. I disabled the entire Aura Sync driver. I completely uninstalled it. Still nothing. So I'm like, what is going on? So at a last ditch effort, NZXT makes those USB hubs, those internal USB hubs.
Yes.
Which basically you connect.
And it expands, kind of lets you have more internal ports, right? Yeah.
So I connect the front panel to the motherboard, and it detects it, and it works, no problem. And then I'm like, okay. So then I disconnect it and connect it directly, and it works, no problem. But before, it wouldn't work at all. And I was like, this is one of those tech things that
doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely no sense. I can't even think of an idea. Like, I can't even think of something that would cause it.
Well, have you ever had like devices where you plug it in and it doesn't recognize on one USB port, and then you move it to the next one and it does? Have you ever had that?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is I completely reset all the reset everything.
Yeah.
So I have no clue why. And it wasn't even like, because you go into device manager and you see the unrecognized device, right? There was nothing. like it made no sense to me.
That's
so that's kind of what I've been dealing with for the past couple of weeks, trying to get this review done of this pretty good case here from InWin. So this is their 309. I want to share that story because I'm sure some people might relate to that.
Yeah.
But this is the InWin 309, which is a really nice case. Of course, the centerpiece is this front panel, and this is a RGB panel. So these are 144 individual RGB LEDs, and they're addressable. Every one is addressable, which is pretty cool. So we'll get into that, I guess, first, because I figured that's kind of...
And having reviewed the InWin 303 myself previously, this looks very similar. Am I correct in that this is very similar to the 303's internal design and everything like that? Okay.
It's basically...
I'm sure they've made some changes, right? Some improvements, but...
It is basically the same,
okay.
Except for the front panel. And you do get 4 ARGB fans, which also come. So you get this awesome panel, which is really, really cool. And I think it is kind of like the saving grace of this case, because the internal layout is not the best, I would say. But yeah, you get this awesome panel, which you can do some really cool stuff. So here's the software, which again took me forever to get it to work. But you have all these different settings, and I can show you what some of these look like. Like, you could do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, some of those are pretty cool. Yeah,
and I wish I should have made a video. You can display the time. You can do like I said, a bunch of different things. I made one that said TC 2020 right there. So it's really cool. And the cool thing about it is the RGB effects go through the panel, as well as the 4 included ARGB fans. So there's 4 120 millimeter ARGB fans that come with the case as well. So you have this really, like, everything is set up and good to go out of the box. We had our issue with the front panel, but if you shouldn't, everything's connected. Besides, you just have to plug it into your motherboard via the USB 2.0 header, but everything else is pre-wired, pre-connected. All the fans are connected to power. All the RGB stuff they're all daisy chained together. Like, everything's set up and good to go, which I really liked. So for a case that you want to, show off or take to a LAN party, this is a really cool looking case. I mean, there's not many cases that have this, front panel. And if you're like in a clan or something, you can, of course, like, put your clan logo or something like that on it.
If you could have Tetris playing on the front of that, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, so a lot of people have asked about that when we posted our review.
Oh, okay.
You can't technically have, like, you can't play Tetris. I'm sure somebody could.
Well, maybe not, not even playing it, just like showing an animation that would resemble Tetris would be kind of cool.
Yeah, so their software is pretty good. It's kind of like it's pretty recent. So it would be nice if they could add a little bit more to it, but it is pretty good for what it does. But going back to the case itself, it's your typical bin tower. The one thing that I do like about these InWin cases is that the side panel, you can see the little latch kind of button right here. Yep. I love this because you can take the entire panel off the case without even touching the tempered glass, which means that you don't have to clean it every time you take it off because you have fingerprints on it. InWin has done that for the past couple years. I think that's such a great design. Just like most InWin cases, the cooling setup on this makes no sense. It's not your traditional setup, I would say. No. So if you look at this, the whole idea is you get all of your intake from the bottom, which includes no fans. Right. And then you have your exhaust here, and then you have this section up here for exhaust, which then there's ventilation on the opposite side panel.
But I think you ran into this. If you put fans at the bottom, you've got maybe some clearance issues, right?
Yeah. So this supports up to ATX motherboards. When you install an ATX, which I'll go to, you run into the problem as the motherboard basically sits at the bottom. I mean, this is the bottom of the case. The motherboard sits directly at the bottom. So even connecting cables, you can see it's just, if I want to install fans here, I can't. And that's kind of, you know,
or depending on your board, you may have issues, right? Like, because I know some boards have that USB 3 connection at the bottom, which I think yours does there.
Yeah.
And that plug isn't always flexible or compatible with having a fan right there.
Yeah, and you can see where you would like the holes where the fans would go. It's like right where this cable is. I mean, it's just not. This has become a thing too when it comes to case design lately. Like they've put it so the motherboard sits flush with the bottom of the case, which I'm not a fan of, just because you do have cables and you do have things. And I'm especially not a fan of it in a case like this where you have all this ventilation for fans. But if you install a fan, you're essentially going to block these connections. So if you had to connect something after the fact, it would be a pain in the ass. And that's just, yeah. So that's why I was just like not a big fan of that. And then secondly, I went to connect my graphics card and I wanted to route the cable through this bottom hole. But when I did, it wouldn't connect. My cable wasn't long enough. And it's a standard power supply, a newer one too. So that was weird to me. So I could have put it through this one, but I just put it through the top and down. But it was just weird that it wouldn't reach. You know, it's a little odd to me. You know, like besides that, like I said, the internal design is just basic to me. It's not. I don't know. It's just not. It just doesn't do it for me, I guess. And at 2019, 2020, internal design is very basic to me. And again, the saving grace of the case for me is the front panel, and you do get 4 fans, ARGB fans, included. So, in the actual structure of the case, we have seen cases that are kind of crappy. As far as like this is solid case, it's solid steel, like it's really good. You do get a Type C on the front as well. InWin is like one of the only companies that have been doing that for the past couple of years on all of their cases. So internal design, I kind of gave him a hit for that because it's just not there. And towards the front of the case too, like there's just a lot of empty space, and it could have been a lot
you can do. I mean, you could put some 2.5-inch drives there, I think, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's just like, again, and the case is pretty expensive. It's $250, which you factor in the panel, 4 ARGB fans, which would probably cost you $100 anyways. But still, at $250, there's a lot of cases. There's a lot of really nice cases out there at that price point that give you more internally, give you more room. So I only gave it an 8 out of 10. And then one thing also that I wanted to point out too is there's no rubber grommets on any of the cable routing holes, which is kind of like, you kind of just expect that, especially at a case at this price range. So that was a little weird too. But all in all, like I said, it is a fun case. It is really cool. If you're okay with the internal layout and some of the issues you might have. And again, I point out these issues because I do installs all the time, but most people will be doing their install one time. So,
right.
But yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Check out the review for sure. Like I said, it was fun to play around with that front panel. And I assume like, people going to like a LAN party or something like that would really kind of have fun with it. And there's a lot you could do with it if that's your thing. And if you want to, there's not any other cases that offer that I've seen, so if that's what you want, this is definitely the case for you. So definitely go ahead and check that out. And then we move on to gaming stuff. So I took a look, and I've been talking about it and still here. Is the Cooler Master MM711. Basically, they've taken their MM710 and added RGB lighting. This is a lightweight gaming mouse, which I'm a fan of. If you've listened to this podcast,
you're a recent convert, right?
Yeah, I do like it. I think the one thing that the MM710 was missing was the RGB lighting. So MM711, more or less the same mouse. It's 60 grams, which is very lightweight, very, very lightweight. The MM710 was 53. So adding the RGB lighting and the little bit of the diffuser that's in there and stuff added 7 more grams. It is, like I said, it's a really good mouse. If you're looking for a lightweight mouse, this is one of the ones that I would highly recommend. Their cabling it's kind of hard to see, but like the cabling is this ultra weave. It's so light. And I really hope that this like ultra weave thing becomes a thing on other gaming mice, even if they're not lightweight, because you don't feel any drag at all. And I think that's something that most wired gaming mice just, even we've had, you know, you have rubber cables, you have braided cables. I still haven't found like a wired mouse that has like
something as flexible and
flexible and like just no drag. You don't feel it when you're gaming.
So this mouse though has the same like sensor, same switches, everything.
Same sensor, correct? Same Omron switches,
really
same
just
number
an RGB upgrade.
Yeah, just an RGB upgrade, which again I think was needed. But it does give you like a good choice, because if you want super light, you're not going to get RGB lighting. You could do it, you know, I feel like 60 grams is pretty good. I believe the Model O is around 60 or 58 grams maybe. From Glorious PC Gaming Race. So that's like, again, those are two pretty solid choices when it comes to that stuff. Cooler Master does back this up with software, really easy to use. The only thing about the software, like I've told them for a year and a half now, is that I want to be able to launch a program if I press a button on the mouse, and they still haven't added that in. I don't know why. But yeah, besides that, like I said, the software is really cool, like really easy to use. I don't know why, and we have seen this with other companies too, is that for their like, I have an RGB mouse pad. Like for their RGB mouse pad in their mouse, I use one piece of software. For their keyboards, I use another.
Yeah,
there's 2 separate pieces of software. Okay. So that's a little weird to me.
Like the old what was it, IQ and
it was Corsair Q and then
Link or iLink.
And Corsair Link, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they finally brought them together.
Yep.
I think Cooler Master is kind of running into the same thing. But as far as the software, like you can create macros, you can do all that kind of stuff. I just, again, I want to be able to run a Windows command and open a program. It's available in every other software except for Cooler Master for some reason. They haven't added it in there. But it's, like I said, it's a good mouse. I'm still using it. Like it's sitting here. I'm using it. So it is a good mouse. I really like it. I would say for most people, again, I thought that lightweight mice were stupid. I really did. It's just, you know, and I gave it a chance with the MM710, and I was like, wow, this is actually really nice. Like it feels good. For me, like I'm mainly an FPS gamer, so I don't need a ton of buttons. This has your 2 main buttons and the 2 on the side. That's all you really need. And you move around very easily. If you're doing long gaming sessions, it's less stress, or it's less stress on your wrist, really, because you're not moving a heavy object, you're moving a lighter object around. So like I said, I think it's good. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I dinged it for the software. 2 reasons for the software. Again, because you use 2 different pieces of software, one for their keyboards and one for their mice, which is odd. And then you can't launch a program or use a Windows command with, you can't remap a key to do that. I just feel that's a little odd. So, but yeah, like I said, good. It is a mouse I would highly recommend. So definitely go ahead and check that out. And we are moving on to a CPU cooler. So 3 reviews this week. We're getting back to our normal schedule, I feel, when it comes to reviews. Although next week, which we'll talk about towards the end of the podcast, will be a little bit slower. But I took a look at the Reeven Justice II, which of course is their upgrade, or I wouldn't say it's an upgrade. It's made it more modern for their original Justice. We reviewed their original Justice back in 2016. This is sort of like the new version, makes it current. What they've done is they've made it slightly smaller, just to fit in more cases. They've added a different type of fan. They've gone ahead and changed the spacing of the fins. So there's actually more space between the fins, so you have better airflow throughout it. They've made it asymmetrical so that you have no clearance issues whatsoever. They've changed the top of the cooler so it is black, so it just looks better. Overall, I think all the upgrades are good. I would say if you have a Reeven Justice, there's no reason to get a Reeven Justice II. But if you're looking for a single tower air cooler, this is a solid cooler. It supports all major sockets minus what's it called? Minus TR4. Yeah, Threadripper, which of course is expected. It does support 2011 V3. So if you were doing Intel high-end desktop, you could use it. Just like I said, it's a tower, single tower cooler. Made for I would say it's mainly made for mainstream desktop processors. You can see it has the Reeven logo up top there.
So the design on their fan blades, with the little cutouts, is that what do they tout that for? Is that to kind of direct air further in? Is that for noise?
What's kind of funny is actually they didn't really talk about it that much on the website. Okay. It was kind of weird because I was trying to get information on it. It is a new fan.
Yeah, I mean, on their box picture, I mean, they tout a new fan, but they only really talk about its fluid dynamic bearing, and that's about it. So I'm assuming, right, like most fans, they make modifications for either quiet, noise reduction or better flow. So
one thing I wanted to say is the fan is very quiet. I was actually really surprised. Real quick, Justin, this guy I haven't seen since I was like in high school. Which is kind of crazy.
Right.
He just jumped in here. He was from a band I used to go see called Category 5. So, Justin, what's up, man? That's pretty awesome, actually. But yeah, so the fan is very quiet. And we actually did noise testing on it. It is whisper quiet, even during load. I think the difference between idle and load was like 7 dB, which isn't a lot. If you look at it, out of the 3 coolers that we've tested with our new sound level meter, it's the quietest at both idle and load. 40.41 decibels at idle, and then 46.1 at load, which is really, really good. But look, going into testing, we tested this on a Ryzen 7 2700X. So at idle, it did really well, almost to the top of our test group here. And then at load, it sits kind of right in the middle, which isn't bad at all. Full load around 57 degrees Celsius, which is more than fine. Mm-hmm. I would say the problem is that you have this Cooler Master Hyper 212 RGB S or BE or SE. I don't know what it's called. But you have that
the BE, cooler. I think is their black edition.
Yeah, I think the BE is the black edition. That cooler's $40. This one's $50. $10 difference.
Even like the 212, just the standard 212 Evo is probably another $10 cheaper and probably performs very similar.
Yeah, and the thing is that this does not have RGB, and that's a big thing. And there's so many other coolers that have RGB. Now, the Noctua, the Sith Ninja, the MA620M, they're all $100. These first 3 in our list here. But then you have the $40 Hyper 212. So there's a lot of competition. I wouldn't say this is a bad cooler by any means. It's just priced at where you can find other coolers that perform better at a lower cost. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think that's something you have to consider. And those other coolers probably have louder fans. This one is very quiet. So if quiet is a thing you're looking for, this would be the fan. But if you're looking for RGB or something more flashy, I mean, it's a decent looking cooler, but there is no RGB.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's something to consider. I gave it 9 out of 10 because I did think it performed really well. The price isn't bad. The fan's very quiet. And from the original, they've made some nice upgrades. Cool. So. And then Justin said that he has a mini ITX with a 2080 Ti. I'm kind of jealous of that. I have a 2080. I don't have a 2080 Ti. I have a 2080 Super, which is still below. 2080 Ti. but yeah, I love mini ITX builds. Kind of one of my favorite things. I used to have one as my main computer. Then I realized rendering things in that small space is just never a good idea at all. But we'll move back to other stuff we have this week. Of course, we have Case Mod Friday. That's, of course, when we highlight a build or mod that's been done in the community. And we go back to our friends at GGF, and we have another build from them. They have so many good ones.
I know. They just put out so much good content.
Yeah. So Stuart over at GGF always has good stuff. But this is their Thermaltake Level 20 HT build. That's basically, they did it as a review as well. I just I love white builds, and this one is sort of like white and chrome. Perfect lines on the water cooling here. I mean, they're just done perfectly. I think it's all Thermaltake water cooling as well, minus of course the block on the
the
part of the
they
motherboard.
Went with a big ski. Well, and the 2080 Ti block is a big ski.
Okay,
block.
Gotcha. But yeah, it's just like I said, it's just this one thing I love about GGF. You know, you're gonna get just a complete solid build. You know what I mean? It's just gonna look good. It's gonna have solid lines. It's just gonna look awesome. And again, there's not a whole lot of modding. I mean, I guess you could say he cut into the case and things like that. But these are pump reses that you can buy and you can put in here. Like, there's not a whole lot of crazy modding in this, which I like, because it just shows you can do a lot with kind of stock stuff, right?
There's that little screen kind of below the motherboard.
Oh yeah,
which shows that. But yeah, like you said, it's to me this is more of almost like a high-end build with a little bit of customization. Not one of the like scratch builds we've seen from them, but still very cool system.
Yeah, very, very cool. Again, the all-white build, white coolant with the chrome. I think the white with the chrome looks really good.
Yep.
It looks really, really good there. So definitely check this out if you're into case mods. And of course, we have our full Case Mod Friday section. So if you want to get inspiration or just see what you can do with PC hardware, definitely go ahead and check that out. And then it is contest time. So this time we're doing things a little bit different. We're basically giving you guys the choice of what you want. We're going to give away a $50 gift card to anywhere you want.
Anywhere, man.
Well, I guess anywhere, as long as I can buy it for you.
Shop, yeah.
As long as I can buy it for you online, we'll get it out to you. So, super simple contest, just like anything else. We're announcing it here on the podcast. So as you can see, nobody's entered yet. Go in the show notes right now. It's in there. And you can, like I said, I have Amazon, Steam, Xbox, iTunes, but whatever, online store. And as long as I can buy you a $50 gift card, we'll get it out to you. It could be for what's your favorite food place? We've talked about this, and you're not big on.
No, when I get gift cards, like if somebody wants to get me one for food, it's Chipotle, right? Like
that's solid because that's like at least 5 good meals, right?
For $50. Close to it.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Kayla's parents her parents or her uncle got us a $50 gift card for what's that Brazilian steakhouse place called?
There's a bunch of them.
For one of those. So we haven't
Fogo, was it?
Yeah.
The Chow or whatever.
It wasn't that. It was the other one.
Buena Brasa or
Texas Day Brazil. That's what it was.
Okay.
And we haven't gone yet. So, but yeah, guys, $50 gift card. I would say use it on Steam. Amazon's always good because you can buy whatever you want.
That's anything, right? Amazon's
anything. I guess I should have put Newegg on there. But yeah, whatever you guys want, just get your entry in. Super easy to entry. We do it through Gleam, just like all of our other contests. And this is worldwide. So it's again, go ahead.
Get $50 worth of ThinkComputers merch. I mean,
you could do that. We can. Who's our? I don't even know who our merch store is through. I think it's through.
What?
I'm thinking it's not Spreadshirt. It's the other one. Teespring. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can get you a $50 gift card through Teespring. I'm sure they have them. So you guys, we wanted to obviously give back to you guys, like I said. So this is a great way to do it. This one's going to run for 3 weeks, and then hopefully in that time we'll have a really awesome thing that I'm working on right now to get you guys. But yeah, get your entry in. Super easy. We'll put it out on social media if you guys do miss it, but it will be on the front page of the website tomorrow. So yeah, pretty excited about that one. Get back to you guys, and that brings us to news. And just like every week, AMD is in the news again.
Yep.
Which is not surprising.
Well, it's good news, right? It's not like AMD's failing at something, or their product isn't living up to expectations. It's like they're just knocking it out of the park. So
yeah. So they had their fourth quarter and annual 2019 financial result call, and they're doing pretty good. So they're up 4% year over year.
In revenue.
In revenue, which is really, really good. They're doing good. I don't want to go into all the details on this because I would bore you. But we did want to point out that they are doing good. And just to think, we kind of thought they were dead like 3 or 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of anticipation, I think, for Zen and Ryzen, right? Back in 2017 is when that launched. So you knew ahead of that, a year, maybe a year and a half, that there was something on the horizon. And I think everybody's like, okay, this could be like, they're going to make it or make them or break them type of situation. It's kind of how that felt.
So it's good to see them doing well. I think this upcoming year is going to be really big too. That brings us right to our next story, which is that AMD will debut their second generation RDNA architecture. So RDNA2, this will be this will be the next gen. We don't think this will be big Navi, but this will be what, the second generation of the 57 or the 5000 series. So probably called the 6000,
maybe 6000.
6000 series. It should be based off of the 7 nanometer plus process from TSMC. This is going to enable AMD to up their transistor count, clock speed, and performance. Again, being more refined, being more competitive. I think that's good for AMD. I didn't expect them, and I don't think anybody did this past year, for them to take over.
No.
Or to beat NVIDIA, but to have a competing product, which I do feel that they have, and they've been really aggressive with their pricing, which I think a lot of people appreciate.
Them a lot, right? Yeah.
And to see, that they're going to have this next generation come out in 2020. They've been pretty good with hitting their dates as well. Mm-hmm. They haven't had these like massive delays or anything like that. And just to have another player, a solid player in the market, because I think that with previous AMD GPU stuff, it just was never, it was either like, yeah, we have good performance, but our card gets so hot, uses so much power.
So much power, yeah.
Yeah, it's, while it wasn't, again, it didn't beat NVIDIA, it gave people a choice, and a choice that you would be like happy with. Like if you're like a diehard AMD fanboy, and like, a couple years ago you were like, do I really have to get another AMD card? Because drivers were horrible. They've gotten better now. Like there's just so many things. So it's good to see that this is coming. It is expected with RDNA2 that you're going to get VRS, which is variable rate shading, and then we might possibly get ray tracing. Nothing's confirmed with ray tracing. So we'll see how that goes. It's expected that we will get, Big Navi said, or Lisa Su, AMD's CEO, did say Big Navi is coming. Probably going to hear more about that at AMD's Investor Day conference, which happens to be in March. So that's going to be exciting. Maybe we'll get something on that, because I'm really interested to see what they can do at 4K. As I said, when we talked about the 5600, they have their esports card in the 55, their 1080p in the 56, their 1440p in the 57. Let's see what we can do at 4K. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. So yeah, now on to Intel, and just more,
the hits keep coming.
They just keep on coming. So it appears that Intel 400 series motherboards will lack PCI Express 4.0. Now, we had thought that even though the CPUs themselves might not support PCI Express 4.0,
right,
the boards would have the proper hardware to support it.
Right.
Now, Tom's Hardware, while they were at CES, they spoke with multiple sources that said that Intel couldn't work out PCI Express 4.0 on the actual chipset itself. So you won't get, even if you had the hardware, you wouldn't be able to do it. Even if the next generation, which is, what's that called? The 11th generation.
Rocket Lake.
Yeah. Even if Rocket Lake supported it, since the chipset does not, you still won't be able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just one thing after another with Intel.
No, I mean, we say that, right, and we complain about them not having that in this 400 series of motherboards because we're enthusiasts and we want to see, feature parity across AMD and Intel. When it comes down to it, though, right now, like the PCI 4.0. Like you've got some drives, right, that support it, and really the folks that can take advantage of that are pretty few and far between when it really comes down to it, to be able to write and read fast enough to those drives, right, from one source to another. So while we get upset about it, I don't think that it's going to be as big of a deal as a lot of folks are making it out to be. And with as often as Intel releases new motherboards and chips, right, we're going to be talking about the Intel 500 series in another year anyhow, and by then it's probably going to be there. So that's kind of my take on it. I just well, you have to think that one, the 10th generation desktop is supposed to come out in Q2 of this year, and that will have a run for about a year. Yeah.
So a year and a half from now, you still won't have Gen 4, which is just kind of weird. And this also means that if they do want to implement Gen 4 on Rocket Lake, you have to buy a whole new motherboard.
Right.
Which, again,
that's the standard right now, though, for Intel. Anytime you want new hardware, it's like you might as well build a whole new system.
Yeah, it's just weird. And it seemed as if, at least according to Tom's Hardware, it seemed as if most motherboard manufacturers thought that PCI Express 4.0 would be at least available on the chipset, right? Maybe the CPUs don't support it yet, but so they already put the hardware, the better signals and everything like that into these boards. So some people are saying that motherboard manufacturers might completely redo the boards to be more cost effective, because adding Gen 4 is expensive, and so to cut the prices of the boards down, they might just completely remove it altogether, which makes sense because you're not gonna use it. So yeah, that's a little disappointing, I would say, for some people, but I get your take on it, because I think that, yeah, if you're not buying a Gen 4 drive and to take advantage of that much speed, you have to be doing something like encoding or something like that, right? You have to be,
or you're moving files between drives of similar performance, right? You're not going to move that much across your network, unless you're multi-gig and moving to another similar storage tier. So
Yeah, I do get what you're saying. I'm just like, again, I'm an enthusiast.
Right,
So
we're
I'm
an
like,
enthusiast. We want them to have it,
yeah,
and it's not exciting when they don't. So
yeah. Talking about 4000 or 400 series motherboards,
Mhm.
MSI boards have shown up at the EEC, which is the Eurasian Economic Commission. Basically, you have to register all these with them and all that stuff. So a whole list of Z490 boards popped up. You can kind of see them here. You know, you have the Creator Z490i, the MPG Z490M, Gaming Edge Wi-Fi, the Z490A Pro, MPG Z490 Gaming Carbon Wi-Fi, the Meg Z490 Ace, Meg Z490 Godlike. So yeah, Z490 is coming, especially since this stuff is getting registered, which means that we should be a few months off from when we see a launch, which is pretty exciting. But this gives you an idea of like what MSI will have. Everything here is the same. They're using, which is fine. I don't see a problem. We've seen it with brands carry the same line of motherboards, right?
No, that makes sense. You know what to kind of expect from them, right? You may have a few changes, but you can kind of expect that. I think we need to pay attention to this EEC motherboard or this EEC registration site more, because I think last week that's where we saw the new or the potential what was it, the 5950?
Yeah,
right. So
whoever finds
it's a good trove of information.
This is like a database, and whoever finds these, because I don't know how searchable these are. I can't imagine they're like massively searchable. So people find these and post them on Twitter, and I'm just like, where do you guys find the time to do it? But this is where a lot of leaks come from, because this is all public information. And to get your products in that country, you have to do that. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what motherboard manufacturers are going to do about Z490 as far as like features, and are they really going to push the envelope as far as like design and things like that, because they have to compete against X570, and on a feature set wise, you're
not going to be able to as much. I think we'll see more multi-gig NICs. That's one thing I noticed with X570. I think this time around, there's a lot of boards that had either the 2.5 or 5 gig NICs. So I think we'll see that be more prevalent this time around. And like you said, maybe some design features to try and make up for lack of PCI 4.
Lack of PCI 4, better performing processors on the AMD side, and things like that. But one good thing that hopefully this happens this next story, because I really hope this happens, because one big thing that too is, I wouldn't say it's holding Intel back, but they've lost a lot of money because they can't produce 14 nanometer products fast enough. They just can't. Intel owns their own fabs. That's where they make all of their processors. They don't use TSMC or Global Foundries. But it looks like they might reach out to Global Foundries and get them to start making some of their processors. Intel invested $1 billion in a new 14 nanometer fab. It's completely over. It's over capacity as well. Because of that, they even started doing their. What chipset was it? The B3? I don't know what chipset it was, but one of their chipsets, they actually started manufacturing it at 22 nanometers because 14 nanometer was overloaded, and they wanted more on. They needed more capacity for 14 nanometer, so they've moved one of their chipsets back to 22 nanometer. So 14 nanometer is completely just overwhelming Intel, which makes sense because everybody's, all the chips are using it. So they might make a deal with Global Foundries, which they have a 14 nanometer fab up in upstate New York. And this is kind of what they're going to have to do to kind of get over this bubble, it seems, with 14 nanometer, at least as far as, they're not being a shortage anymore, because there's been a shortage, and there's still a shortage on 14 nanometer parts. So If this deal does go through, the manufacturing will start within 2020, which is good for Intel. And they'll probably do more like entry-level chips like Core i3, Pentium, and Celeron, as well as chipsets. So I think it's a good move for Intel. I think it makes sense considering they're backed up, I would say, when it comes to this. So cool. And like I said, I like that the foundry is in the United States. I just think that's cool. So yeah. America. Yeah. Talking about some crazy. Oh, geez. So
I'm wondering what this is going to do to prices, if anything.
Yeah. So I'm sure if you guys haven't been living under a rock, you know what the coronavirus is. I don't know if you just like see it on Twitter, because I like initially just saw it on Twitter and I was just like, oh, this is like a thing, you know. But then you actually like watch some of the videos and see some of the things, and it is pretty bad as far as the virus itself, obviously. And then the whole quarantine that's going on in China is insane. Like they're shutting down entire cities. It reminds me of like movie, like, you know, movies where they shut everything down. Yeah. And if you didn't know, for some reason, most of your PC hardware is made in China. So the Chinese government has shut down a lot of factories because of the coronavirus outbreak. And two of the big ones are Foxconn and Samsung. Now, luckily for Samsung, it's not a fab. It's a Samsung electronics factory. So it's not a fab, which would make...
that'd be horrible.
Yeah, so that would be all the Samsung, like all of their hard drive chips are fabbed there, as well as all of the... I believe Samsung fabs the actual processors that are in iPhones as well. So like a lot of stuff. That's that Samsung fab.
Well, and Foxconn has their fingers in so many products, you know.
Yeah,
like
so
everywhere.
Foxconn, who's famously known for like the worst working conditions in the world, one of their factories is shut down. And of course, Foxconn is basically the maker of the iPhone. The iPhones are made there. So that's going to be either probably shortages. I don't see like prices of iPhones going up because they keep the price. But as far as other electronics that Foxconn has their hands in, because Foxconn makes everything pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you find them inside of like, you know, you open up a Dell workstation. I don't know if they're still made by them, but you'd see Foxconn everywhere, and you just see it in all sorts of electronics.
So these main factories were shut down. Another big one that doesn't have to do with tech is Johnson & Johnson factory in China was shut down as well. So like these massive factories where a lot of the world's products are, you know, coming from have been shut down. My biggest thing out of this is that how is this going to affect pricing? Because, you know, when like the power went out at one of the NAND factories over there.
Oh yeah. And it wasn't even that long, but
yeah, 48 hours and the prices went up, you know.
Yeah.
So with this is, there's supposed to be 1 to 2 weeks that these factories will be out of commission. I don't know how that's going to affect pricing. Again, luckily it's not a Samsung fab. It's just a normal factory, like a Samsung electronics factory. So, but yeah, this is really interesting because this is like a big, I mean, you don't realize it until something like this happens, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, and then how long does Chinese New Year run?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of stuff shuts down or reduces, right, in what they do during Chinese New Year. So, I mean, it might actually be if they're shut down, it's during a lower part of their manufacturing processes and schedule anyways. But yeah, I know that a lot of the Chinese New Year stuff was shut down or drastically reduced because of this as well. So
yeah. So that's just, I mean, this coronavirus thing is pretty crazy. I think they saw a new case in the United States in Washington, D.C. or something. I don't remember.
And I think we had one here.
Yeah, that's just wild to think about. And then there's that, I don't know if you've been on Netflix lately, you saw that, like, how to stop a epidemic or something like that. There's like that documentary series.
I'm a weirdo and I don't have Netflix, remember?
What?
I know.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yep.
Well, Can't have it all. Moving on to two more products that we're going to talk about before we get out of here. The first one is very interesting. I feel like it's priced that nobody is going to buy it. But the biggest thing, okay, so we've all seen triple monitor setups, and they're awesome, right? They're great, especially for racing games. We saw a lot of racing setups like that at CES. Have I had a triple monitor setup? Maybe they weren't matching monitors or like ones I bought over years.
Yeah, I mean, mine's just not a like standard setup. I have two stacked and then one to the side. But
yeah, but they're awesome. And people spend a lot of money in buying three of the same monitors, but there's bezels. There's always a break in between them, right? And that's why I always say just get one ultra wide. That's why I'm pro ultra wide. But people want the 3 monitor setup. A lot of people do. So Asus has their new, what they're calling them, the ROG bezel free kits. And basically what you do is you set your monitors. They said it's to be at a 30-degree angle or 130-degree angle. And or you set them at 130 degrees, and you install this sort of like film, and it uses refraction, I believe it says. And I don't know how well it looks. Like, this is a picture that they've taken, but like this is what it would normally look like with the bezel there, and then this is with this film on it that you kind of install. And
there's got to be some quality loss, right? Or to me, I don't. Maybe not. I'd have to see it in person, but I also don't know that I want that sharp of an angle between my monitors.
Correct. Yeah. You get a kit that comes with, I think, one of them. I don't know if it's 2 or 1. I couldn't find any.
You would think it'd come with 2, because if it's for a I mean, I guess if you just have 2 and you put it right in the middle, but that'd be weird.
But they're $110 a pop, at least for one. I believe it's for 2, because this picture shows 2. So adding another $110 already onto another purchase, I would just get it as an ultra wide. I don't know. But they might work, they might not. I would really have to see it, right? Yeah. You kind of have to see it. I think the price is a little high.
This wasn't shown at CES, was it?
Not that we saw. No. And I haven't seen anything like it before either. I read some stories when I was doing this article that like they showed it at Computex in 2018. But this is the first I've seen of it. Again, I would just have to see it in person. You know what I mean? I think that, I don't know. And then again, like this like over here is not bad. Like it's not horrible, right? The bezels they're not horrible. So that's all. But if you want to check them out, they're going to be 110. I believe it's for 2 of them. So if you have a triple monitor setup and you want to give it a try, an extra $110, and you won't have any bezels, I guess. But again, I'd have to see it. I think everybody has to see it. Everyone. Yeah. So somebody please do a video review of this so we can actually see what this looks like. But it's cool stuff. You know what I mean? It's something interesting. So. And then kind of out of the blue, and we both said this, we were like, how have we not heard of this? About it. Didn't know anything about it. NZXT has new AIOs, and these AIOs feature a display in them, which I wouldn't say, I mean, we've seen them, right?
Right. I think this is the best example of anything we've seen so far.
Yeah. So the thing that bothers me about this is that I don't believe NZXT changed anything else. Same fans, they look the same. Yep. I don't know if they're different.
They're
same
air
fans. Yeah, same fans as you've always had. Same pump design. It's an Asetek design. That hasn't changed. Tubing looks the same. Like I'm looking at my Kraken right here. Like everything on this looks the same, minus the pump block with the
screen instead of the infinity mirror.
So yeah, so that kind of bothers me because it's like, at least upgrade. At least give me I want an RGB version, right, with RGB fans, or upgrade your fans, or add something new. I don't know. but that's nor here nor there because I don't know all the details. But yeah, so you're going to get this display right here that's going to show your liquid temperature. I believe if you install CAM, it would show your GPU temperature, CPU temperature, a lot of cool stuff on there. Let me see if in this video it actually shows it or not. Maybe not. No, this does not show.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. So I guess it's like a full display. You can kind of put whatever you want on it. So that's really cool. I think it's cool. I think that it's kind of long overdue, right?
It was just a matter of time before that came, and
I think it's just making it affordable, right?
Which, I mean, I think for the 280 millimeter version of that, it's 250. Is that right?
Yes.
So, I mean, a 280 millimeter AIO for $250 is pretty spendy. Like, you can get a 240 for under $100, a 280 for $100 or $120. That's a pretty high price point.
Yeah, it's decently high. I think it will add a lot of cool. Like, it's really cool. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I would hope that internally, again, it doesn't look the same. It looks the same. Like, it looks the same to me, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem, because I think that when we look at AIOs over time, we see companies make adjustments and make improvements. And like, yeah, the Krakens are great. I have one like sitting right next to me. But you would want to see a massive change, not just like we added an LCD to the pump block, right? I don't know. But those were released. Again, the pricing for the ones with the LCDs in the front, the 280 is $249. The 360 is $279. So that's like a graphics card for the, Yep. So that's pretty expensive, but if you want it, it's definitely there. So we're hopefully get one of these into review. So we'll tell you guys a little bit more about it when we get one of those into review. But that is it for news this week. And we are coming up to what we have next week. So one thing to talk about next week is that I am going on vacation. The first time
you were just at CES. Like,
that's not vacation. CES is not vacation.
You're right.
Anybody who's like, "Oh man, you're in Vegas." Like,
Vegas for a week? Yeah.
I'm like, no. Like, I barely slept. We put out so much content. We're running to meetings.
Yep. It's not vacation. It's not time off. So I'm going to the beach. I want to go to the beach. I just want to relax for a week, and I rarely ever take never take off.
I never take time off, and I just figure it's perfect time. I think that I'm still like just going crazy after CES and all that, and I really actually want to take time off, and I think that's important. So we will have 2 reviews next week that will come out, but as far as like news and everything, it's really going to be like real slow. So not a whole lot going on the site, just for the fact that like I really want to take a vacation. I don't want to work half the day and then like enjoy the beach for an hour and then go back to sleep or whatever. Sure. So the first product that we have up next week is a very affordable case, and I forget the price that it's down to now. But I'll be taking a look at Be Quiet's Pure Base 500 entry level mid tower, really sleek design. But I think this is like $60 now.
What? That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's really, really good deal. It's like I said, it's a great case. Airflow's slightly an issue, but it's not really. And at that price, you really can't complain when it comes to that. So I'll have that for you guys. So really excited to tell you about that. And then I can't tell you what it is, but Corsair will be launching a new mouse. Which I've been playing with today. I don't know. It's because I'm used to a lightweight mouse.
You're like, oh, what is it? No.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but it is a good mouse. So I'll have that for you guys next week as well. Cool. So, anything, we get to the end of the podcast, like if we did anything cool or saw any movies.
I'm trying to think if I watched any movie. I didn't watch any movies, but I bought a new game this weekend. I bought Ace Combat 7, I think. It's kind of like an arcadey fighter jet game. And I've always liked flying games. I haven't played one in a long time. I think the last one I played was like War Thunder. and I played it real casually. So I picked that up. It was on sale, I think, on Steam. I've been playing it with a controller, the Scuff controller. So I've enjoyed.
Oh, how is that?
that.
Let me see it.
It's nice. It's not bad. Yep.
Is that the color that they
This
gave
is
us?
the Scuff Impact. Yeah, it's like it looks like an Asian market town kind of logo with some
Oh, that's
lightning
really
and
cool.
stuff.
I wonder what mine looks like. Now I want to open mine up. I haven't even opened mine up.
Yeah, I just opened it up. So it works great. The only thing is my motherboard doesn't have Bluetooth, so I have to use it in wired mode. But I mean, that's fine. I'm not going to complain too much. But yeah, so I played that a little bit. The graphics are great. It's just fun. It's super casual for the most part. So I played that, and then I picked up Escape from Tarkov like a week or so ago. So I've been playing that a little bit with Mike from Home Gadget Geeks, and he's been playing Apex Legends with us. So just kind of playing a couple new games.
Yeah, where's he at tonight? We're gonna get him on the stream.
Well, they usually stream live on Thursday nights, but Jim, the host of that show, has something going on tomorrow, so they're actually streaming right now.
Nice,
live.
Nice.
So, but yeah, we'll be playing obviously some games tonight. After this, Mike from over there might hop on. I don't know. We'll see what's going on there.
Yeah, so we will be on Twitch after this. Twitch.tv/ThinkComputers.
I got one other thing.
Oh,
Mike pointed me, and I hadn't really paid attention to this, but there's we use Streamlabs OBS when we're streaming to Twitch, and there's a remote app for Streamlabs where you can use like a phone or an iPad to switch your scenes and do a couple other actions within Streamlabs. So I have my Stream Deck that I use for that, but I'm really anxious to try it out. So I have an old Asus Nexus 7.
Wow, that's old. Yeah.
So I loaded that up. I'm gonna maybe try that out and see how that works. But he's been using it like the last couple days and really enjoyed it. Sounds like so. Just something to try out.
I've been working on reviews. I'm trying to think. Just working on reviews. I haven't really saw anything or done anything.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to think. Like I really haven't done anything. I'm playing with my camera a little bit more. Like I got that new lens.
Yeah, you got that nice shot of the cooler.
Yeah, with this lens. So I've been. The thing about cameras, I would say, is that you learn as you shoot. At least I do. Like I don't read anything. I don't like read like, oh, which should I set this at? I just shoot and then learn from that way. So,
adjust as you go. Yep.
Yeah, because if you look at like my review photos from like a year ago to now, like I feel they're much better. So, but yeah, besides that, that's pretty much it. So again, guys, next week there won't be a podcast. And there'll be like not a whole lot going on the site besides those two reviews. But we'll put out a post on social media, some other websites you guys might want to check out.
Well, I'll still try and stream next week as well. So
yeah, Ryan won't be up on the stream. We'll put that out on social media too. But again, guys, we are going to jump over to Twitch and start gaming. So twitch.tv/ThinkComputers. We will, if we get a good amount of people in there, we will give away another game code. I have like 10 or 11 game codes to give away throughout this, but if we get a decent amount of people in there, we will give that out. So definitely stay tuned for that. And then everybody, if you want to subscribe to our podcast audio, it's ThinkComputers, all one word, on your favorite podcasting app or software. So until next week, we'll catch you guys later.